Welcome into Keys to the Crown, presented by Crown Royal. I'm Erin Summers, joined by NFL Network's Marcas Grant. It was a crazy week one, especially for the Saints. Marcus, however, you were really high on quarterback Jameis Winston, and he definitely delivered not only for us and the win, but he was sixth overall quarterback in week one with 21.6 points in fantasy. Who is somebody that you're looking at in week two, a sleeper that you're really big on?
One is DJ Chark. Now with the Detroit Lions, we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown get a ton of targets this past week, and it looks like he's the number one receiver, but it looks like DJ Chark could be the number two guy there in Detroit right behind him. He was on the field a ton. He got a lot of targets from Jared Goff. And more importantly, even if the target volume wasn't what we saw from St. Brown, he was getting a lot of downfield throws, which means you don't have to catch as many passes to have a really big day. Another group I guess I like is the Bengals defense this week. And that's because they get the Dallas Cowboys, who right now, unfortunately for them, are in disarray. Dak Prescott injured his thumb on Sunday night against Tampa Bay. He's going to have surgery. So that means they're having Cooper Rush starting at quarterback. This was already a team that was really heavily reliant on their quarterback to be productive. Now they've got to go with a backup for, I would imagine, at least a month, maybe more. I think you can start to pick on them with defenses, and the Bengals are going to be the first one up.
You mentioned injury to quarterback Dak Prescott for the Cowboys. There were a lot of other injuries in week one. Running back Najee Harris, Elijah Mitchell, wide receiver Keenan Allen, and T. Higgins. Who are some of the top waiver wire picks you're looking at?
Well, you mentioned Elijah Mitchell, and so I think Jeff Wilson is the next guy up there in San Francisco. There are a couple of guys in Washington that I like in case, you had Keenan Allen. Obviously, you can look at Josh Palmer down there in Los Angeles. He's going to get a lot of opportunity. But go over to Washington, Jahan Dotson, the rookie who played really well in week one. I think he's going to get some chances. There's also Curtis Samuel, who sort of is, I guess, like, Deebo Samuel light, if you will, there in Washington. He catches the football, he runs the football, does a whole lot of things. The good news is if you have Keenan Allen, and chances are he's not going to play this week because of the injury in a short week, look, I think you can find plenty of wide receivers. It's the deepest position in fantasy football. So if you ever lose somebody at wide receiver, I think you're good to go, and you can find other options on the waiver wire.
Looking at the Saints matchup this week, we are playing the Bucs, completely different offense than Atlanta. Who are your starts, sits, and a sleeper in this one?
For whatever reason, the Saints have had Tom Brady's number. I can't explain it. I don't know that anybody can kind of figure out where to go with that, but that sort of has been the thing there. So I do think you can start the Saints defense. As for a sleeper, I kind of like Russell Gage this week. I think a lot of people had high hopes for him coming into Tampa this year. We didn't see much of him in week one, but with Chris Godwin on the shelf for the immediate future for Tampa Bay, those targets have to go somewhere. We know Mike Evans is going to get his, but I think they're going to have to find somebody else to kind of fill in the gaps a little bit, and Russell Gage seems like a prime candidate.
I really appreciate the time. I'll be keeping tabs on all of your picks, and we'll check in with you again next week. Thanks, Marcus.
Take care.
This has been Keys to the Crown, presented by Crown Royal.